Hello everyone, welcome to VCreate Games, and today we're doing Pokemon Emerald, but I'm the King of Team Plasma. The King of Team Plasma is N, one of the most fascinating antagonists in the main series Pokemon games. He was raised by the manipulative Getsis to believe that Pokemon and people ought to be separated, but he comes to question his worldview through the events of Pokemon Black and White as he sees the player's compassion for Pokemon. N uses a different team each time he battles the player, symbolizing his fight to free Pokemon from their human captors. We will play through Pokemon Emerald as N, transported to Hoenn, fighting for Pokemon liberation. Can we become the champion of Hoenn? And can we stop Team Aqua and Team Magma from abusing the powers of Kyogre and Groudon for their own gain while we're at it? Here are the rules of the challenge. We must use an entirely new team for each gym. We can only catch Pokemon from either a route adjacent to the city the gym is in, or a route directly on the way from the previous gym to the current one, or the city the current gym is in itself. Once we catch any Pokemon from an area, we can't come back to that area for any future gyms. We can only use each evolution line once in the entire run. No items in battle, held items are okay, and we'll be using a set battle style. As usual, I am aiming for challenging yet fun, not excessively grindy. The rare candy rule I will be using for this challenge is that once we enter a gym, we can use rare candies to level up our team to match the gym leader's second strongest Pokemon. I don't think that this will be a particularly difficult challenge run overall, but I think it will be a ton of fun to use such a wide variety of different Pokemon throughout the game. Let's get started. Heading north from Little Root Town, we immediately find the local professor unable to handle a wild Poochyena and begging for our help. Trico is calling to me, so we take him with us, help the professor out by stopping the Poochyena, and head north. There's no time to waste. Team Plasma sent us here on this mission to spread our word, become the champion of Hoenn, and push for the noble cause of Pokemon liberation on a wider scale. So, we need to get moving, and I think this Pokemon alone is probably enough to take on the Rustboro City Gym Leader, Roxanne. We rush through Petalburg Woods towards Rustboro and encounter a guy being attacked by a Team Aqua grunt. It doesn't seem like this guy has done anything particularly wrong, so we help him out. It'll be good to get some intel on the other organizations in this area anyway. We walk into the gym, but I forgot to heal Trico and promptly run out of absorbs. Oops! That leads to a defeat, as we can't deal any damage to her nose pass, but we come back right away with a fully healed and now evolved Trico and make short work of her. Absorb instantly takes out both of Roxanne's Geodudes, so it's just Grovyle versus Nosepass. We hit that with an Absorb 2, and it only does about a third of its health. Roxanne hits us back with a Rock Tomb that does even less, although after a while we start to get mighty slow. We trade hits back and forth, and she heals up from an Oranberry and then a potion, but we're never really in too much danger. First badge down. Now the time has come to set Grovyle free, so we head to Route 116, catch an Encata that will be our partner for the next stage of the journey, and release Grovyle. Enjoy your freedom, little buddy. Wait, what? We'll deal with that later. I guess he stays for now. We hop on a boat, and we get a call from our dad, who is definitely not a Team Plasma plant in the region at all. Nope. I actually don't pay too much attention to the phone call. I'm on a boat. I got better things to do. Brawly is the gym leader in Dewford, and he should be even easier than Roxanne, especially if we can find a Sableye in Granite Cave. Brawly's Pokemon don't even have a move that can hit Sableye. We find one, and we find an Abra too, and we head into Brawly's gym with a 3 Pokemon squad that should make this the easiest gym battle of the entire run. I lead with Kadabra just because it'll go faster if I don't rely on Nightshade as the primary method of dealing damage, and Kadabra immediately one-hit KOs Machop with Confusion. Then it takes care of business by spamming Confusion against Metatite, who sets up screens to drag the battle out a bit longer but doesn't actually hurt us. Makuhita survives a hit because of the light screen, and it uses Bulk Up, then heals itself back to full with a Citrus Berry, but it doesn't really matter. We just click Confusion a few more times and get through Brawly without taking a point of damage in the entire gym. So yeah, that was easy. We set our friends free and we find a Gulpin. Don't say it.
These nuts.
To help us with the next stage of our journey.
Got
We
it.
catch a few more friends as well, but building a team for Watson isn't quite as easy as the first two. His Magneton is going to be a real problem with these options available to us. I mean, Minun? Seriously? What are we going to do with this guy? Team Aqua has some operation going on in the museum, so we bust that up and learn that they're after a submarine for whatever nefarious purposes they have going on. We mostly ignore that, and proceed to Watson, and here we have all kinds of trouble. There's no problem with Watson's first two Pokemon, especially since his Voltorb has a tendency to just blow itself up anyway. We can easily get to Magneton every single time, but that's where everything falls apart. We have a lot of Poison-type stab moves which don't even hurt Magneton. Our normal type and electric moves are resisted, and while we have access to Rock Smash, which is super effective, it's 20 base power, so it's still pretty much sucks, although the defense drop is nice. Also, only Mightyena and Gulpin can even learn Rock Smash from this squad. We do have some ways of putting Magneton to sleep at least, but it seems like taking Watson down will mostly be a matter of luck. It has the ability to paralyze us, and Magneton's Shockwave does way more damage to our Pokemon than we're ever able to reliably do back. I tried a few different leads, but eventually settled on Tentacool because it's pretty useless in the fight, so leaving it in to die to Voltorb's self-destruct is fine. We send in Gulpin, yawn his Electrike to sleep, and start using Amnesia to help protect us against Shockwave when Magneton comes in. It can get around that with Sonic Boom, but that's still better than 2-hit KOing us with Shockwave. It at least survives 4 hits from Sonic Boom. At plus 6 special defense, we start using Sludge, and while Electrike does wake up to hit us with a couple of quick attacks, we take it down. This begins the long process of bringing Magneton down. Fortunately, it does try to Shockwave us, which doesn't do much damage with our boosted special defense. We put it to sleep with Yawn and start wailing away with Rock Smash. Eventually, Watson heals back to full with a Super Potion and Gulpin goes down. With no way to put it to sleep, we send Minun out and paralyze it with a Thunder Wave, because that still works in Gen 3. Minun uses Encore to lock Magneton into Thunder Wave after it paralyzes us, then we fire off Sparks, and after several hits we bring Magneton all the way down. Finally! Watson sends out his Manectric and it starts using Howl. Now I gamble and use Encore again to lock Manectric into Howl. Its quick attack will hit like a truck once that Encore ends, but it's helpless for a few turns at least. I switch in Mightyena and use Bite, but I get some bad luck with Paralysis, and then Encore ends. We hit another Bite, but then get knocked out. Minun comes back in, does some chip damage, but then also gets KO'd, and we're down to just Gloom. We deal some damage with Absorb and it tries to paralyze us. Gloom survives a quick attack on 9 HP and finally lands the finishing blow. Somehow we've done it. And Minun played an unexpectedly huge role. Hey, if you knew Minun was going to be the MVP, make sure you hit that like button to let everyone know you're a genius. And either way, consider subscribing to the channel. It's really a huge help and very much appreciated. Rock Smash definitely helped us in that fight, but man, it would have been so much easier if we could have just used it outside of battle instead and brought a Geodude along. Oh well, Geodude will come in handy now anyway. I hope all of you guys have a wonderful life, especially you, Minun the Goat. A little bit of running around to do before we get to Lava Ridge Town, and it opens up some options for us to fight Flannery with, though Numel and Graveler will do most of the heavy lifting against a fire gym. We put together a fun little squad, and we realize that Lombre, very unhelpfully, doesn't learn water moves for a very long time. Atop Mount Chimney, we get into our first battle with the leader of one of the region's evil organizations and begin to suspect that they are indeed up to something evil. Look, I'm unfamiliar with whatever's in this volcano, but Maxie wants to use whatever's living in here to further Team Magma's goals. It's probably a Pokemon. I can't allow that. This is further proof that Pokemon need to be separated from humans. Maxie leads off with Mightyena, and we switch out immediately to clear the Intimidate. Lombre gets sand attacked and also does next to no damage, so we just let it go down and send Torkoal in. We set up with Curse, and it takes a couple of hits. Then we take down Mightyena with a pair of Body Slams and land a pretty strong hit on Camerupt too. Graveler comes in, but gets instantly wiped out by a powerful Magnitude 9 hit, so the job falls to Numel. Maxie goes for Tackle here, which lets our Numel easily take it down. Only Zubat is left, and we use Ember, burn it as we get confused, and a couple turns later snap out of confusion just in time to finish it off. Maxie's down, but I'll have to keep an eye on these guys. Anyway, it's off to Lava Ridge Town now, and we have a big battle with Flannery, where I expect our 2 ground types will do most of the work. Although I have the 2 ground types in the back, I am kind of curious what Torkoal can do with a bit of setup, so I lead it against her Numel and use Curse. We take a Magnitude pretty well, but probably shouldn't risk seeing a Magnitude 9 or 10 come out here, so I start attacking. The boosted Body Slam does massive damage to Numel and baits out Flannery's Hyper Potion, then we KO it with 2 more hits. Unfortunately, Slugma poisons us as it comes in and puts us on a bit of a clock, but we take it down with a body slam anyway. Flannery's Camerupt brings Torkoal down, but chooses to go for tackle against Numble for some reason, so we hit it with a pair of magnitudes that bring it down to low health. We only rolled a 6 and a 7, so she stays alive and heals it up with her second Hyper Potion. This time around we get better magnitude rolls, and Numble brings Camerupt down low on the first hit, then survives a tackle and finishes it off. Numble lands a critical hit on Torkoal before going down, and Graveler comes in to finish up the battle. Magnitude definitely wins here, but we decide to finish with some flair, and we go boom instead. The time has come to battle the person known to the Hoenn region as Norman, the 5th gym leader, Team Plasma Grunt masquerading as my father. I sense some hostility as I walk in here with a squad led by Breloom and put the boots to his team. I actually had designs on doing something really fun with Volbeat here, but he held his slacking for last, and I forgot that bug-type moves like Signal Beam were still physical in this generation. Still, Breloom's Mach Punch pretty much surges through Norman's entire team, taking down Spinda, Vigoroth, and Linoon with little resistance. We get some damage in on Slacking too before finally going down, but now we have a little problem on our hands because we do pretty pitiful damage to Slacking. On the other hand, both Volbeat and Dustox know Protect, so we can survive by just protecting on every non-truant turn. The strategy is close to foolproof, but it does take forever. This is where I tried using Tail Glow to max out Volbeat's special attack before hitting it with Signal Beam, only to realize it's still a physical move. It takes a while to whittle Slacking down, and then Norman drops a Hyper Potion to bring it all the way back to full, so we have to do it again. In the end though, Swellow lands the winning blow with a quick attack. Now we can swim, so we hop aboard this pointy fish and cross over to Route 118. We've caught a Manectric as well, and it will prove invaluable for the next little bit of our journey, especially as we get to the Weather Institute and find it taken over by Team Aqua. Manectric pretty easily stomps through every member of Team Aqua in the building, with a parade of spark attacks that pretty much none of them can take. Even Team Aqua's admin has a pretty lame team. Let's watch this montage of Manectric kicking some butt. The weather people give us a cast form, which apparently they have a lot of here. Mark that down. Even the good guys in this region are taking advantage of Pokemon, apparently. At least we can help one of these little guys be free. Across the bridge, May is waiting for us. May leads with Pelipper, and it's easily handled by Manectric. Then we switch Goldeen in on her Combuskin as it tries to set up bulk-ups. But a pair of rain-boosted Surfs finishes Combuskin off before it can do anything with those increased stats. Thank you, constant rain on this route. I tried to get some use out of Cast Form here, but it transforms into a water type, which just makes it susceptible to Lombre's Absorb, and its Powder Snow is pitiful. I switched the weather to Sun to resist Absorb, but realistically it's pointless, so then we just let Cast Form go down and bring in Tropius instead. A couple of Razor Leaf attacks later, and May goes down. Now it's time to use this team, plus a couple of new additions from the other side of Fortree City, for what its real purpose was. Taking down the Flying-type gym leader, Winona. Manectric Spark is just short of a one-hit KO on Swablu, but it gets Winona to heal, and I take it down with a quick attack Spark combo. She goes into Altaria right away, and I debate switching to Cast Form to set up Hail and then kill it with Weather Ball, but I think Cast Form is too frail to risk taking multiple hits, so I go for Spark, and luckily I paralyze it. With Altaria paralyzed, the switch seems less risky, so I bring Cast Form in, set up Hail, and we get a good break with Altaria being fully paralyzed. Cast Form pulls its weight by taking it down with one Weather Ball. Then, Cast Form goes toe-to-toe with Skarmory, doing big damage with another Weather Ball, then surviving a Steel Wing, launching another Weather Ball that leaves Skarmory in range to be taken out by Hail. It would have been nice to have Cast Form survive long enough to fight Tropius too, but it already did more than I expected. A Tropius fight ensues here, and it looks like we have the upper hand, dealing big damage with Fly. Unfortunately for us, Winona continually heals back to full with Synthesis, and takes our Tropius down eventually. Then she uses a Hyper Potion to heal back to full again. When Electric comes in and Spark does a decent enough amount of damage, we take a Solar Beam hit and then we finish it off. That leaves Winona with only a Pelipper remaining, which Manectric polishes off with a single Spark to earn our 6th badge. Alright, so now we have a problem. There's not many options for Pokemon I can use here. We can't get into the Safari Zone until we pick up a Pokeblock case from Lily Cove City for some reason. So I have to catch something from Route 121, but I've used everything except Shuppet and Wingull already. And I need Wingull later, so I'm gonna have to get a Shuppet. This is what Shuppet knows at level 31. If we get into a battle, we're pretty much hooped. Which we do, and we promptly get our butts handed to us. So we're gonna have to head to Mount Pyre. There's some good news. I remembered we picked up the Good Rod, and with the Good Rod, there's a chance I can fish up a Wailmer. Welcome this little round dude to the squad. In the grass outside the mountain, we find a Vulpix, so I catch that too. Archie takes the red orb from the top of Mount Pyre, and the elderly people here tell us that this is bad news since Team Magma also has the blue orb. I assume we'll learn soon enough why this is bad news. We definitely need to figure out what these two teams are up to. Maybe we should put the main quest on hold for a minute. Now we can get into the Safari Zone though, so we get some reinforcements. Enough, in fact, that we take Shuppet off the team entirely. What's left here is actually a pretty cool team that I really enjoy using. For the first time all game, we have a sort of balanced group of Pokemon. It's probably the longest stretch of game between replacing teams, and it's a really fun time. Maxie has taken the blue orb back to Mount Chimney, and we give chase, making our way through a really toasty network of tunnels in the volcano. And we learn exactly what he meant by what was living in this volcano, the legendary Pokemon Groudon. Team Magma is intending to control Groudon to increase landmass in the region. Of course, using Pokemon as though they're tools again. We'll have to battle it out. Maxie leads with Mightyena, and we counter with Wailmer, which doesn't care about Intimidate, but we get swaggered and hit ourselves in confusion. That will be a common theme over the next minute or so. Mightyena uses Takedown, and Wailmer lands a Surf, but Maxie heals, and Wailmer knocks itself out in confusion. We send out Raichu, and it gets some damage in, but then also gets swaggered, and hits itself in confusion. On our next turn, we get taken out with Takedown. Ninetales comes in and finally knocks out Mightyena, but Camerupt takes Dodrio down with a Rock Slide before Psyduck gets revenge with a quad-effective Surf. Psyduck takes a Confuse Ray from Crobat, does a little bit of damage, and then kills itself in confusion. Crobat confuses Ninetales, which proceeds to hit itself in confusion twice in a row and go down. Xatu is our last hope, and it flinches to a bite. Then it goes down on our next turn. Well, that went pretty well. I don't think we can possibly get worse luck, so we go right back to Maxie. This time I lead Ninetales and use Flamethrower. As Maxie heals, I hit another Flamethrower and burn Mightyena, so he switches out to Camerupt. I anticipate an Earthquake coming, so I switch in Dodrio, then bring in Wailmer facing a less powerful attack, which Camerupt misses anyway, then Surf takes down Camerupt in one shot. Mightyena comes back out and hits us with a Swagger again as we land a Surf. Wailmer does hit itself in confusion once, but we still fare way better than last time on the confusion rolls. Raichu comes in and lands a critical hit Thunderbolt to make short work of Crobat. It turns out this fight is pretty easy when you don't get almost every possible roll against you. We hit up the Team Aqua hideout because I bet you they're also up to no good. It looks like they have procured the submarine they were after. Our Raichu gives a bunch of Aqua Grunts the business, but we don't get there fast enough to stop them from escaping in the sub, so we're gonna have to figure out how to get underwater if we want to track them down. For that, we head to Moss Deep City. Unfortunately, we will soon have to say goodbye to our favorite team. I brought two water types to this fight by design, as in theory, Surf in this double battle, especially in Gen 3 when it doesn't hit your teammate yet, should make it pretty easy. It doesn't take long for that plan to go awry. I clicked Water Spout on Wailord first, which was a terrible mistake. Wailord is too slow. It gets taken down into the red by a Psychic from Xatu and an Earthquake from Claydol before it even gets to attack, and Water Spout does pretty much nothing. On the next turn, Wailord goes down and I send in Golduck to use Surf, but it also immediately takes a lot of damage from an Earthquake. I decide Claydol is a problem and double target it as Xatu uses Sunny Day, and now my other spread move is weak too. Then, the gym leaders heal up Claydol and take Golduck down. I send in my own Xatu, making Claydol's Earthquakes temporarily worthless against my two flying types, and I try to take it down again, but even its psychic hits Dodrio pretty hard. When we do finally eventually take Claydol down, our Dodrio goes down in the same turn. The sun's still up, so I bring in Ninetales, although it might be a bit risky with Solrock and Lunatone both being rock types. Flamethrower takes down our opponent's Xatu, and we get some damage in with a Nightshade. I go for a burn on Solrock with Will-O-Wisp, just in case it has Rock Slide or something, and it gives us some help by setting up the sun again, boosting my Flamethrowers. Leaving the burned Solrock alone, we take out Lunatone with a Nightshade and Flamethrower double, so that the rest of the fight is a 2v1. Then we launch attacks at Solrock until it too finally goes down. A good recovery after completely scuffing the beginning of the fight. We run into another situation after getting this badge, as we can't get Dye without helping Steven beat Team Aqua, and we can't really catch any more Pokemon without it. There's always Magikarp, but I need to save that for the Elite Four team, so the only other option is Pelipper. So, we storm the Space Center with nothing but a Pelican, and hope that Steven can carry us to victory. Can we talk about how messed up this plan is, by the way? Maxie wants to dump rocket fuel into a volcano with 2 populated regions on its slopes to force it to erupt. That is something only a psychopath would do. Truth is, we just have a Pelipper, and if they ever double into our spot, we can lose this battle at pretty much any point, so we're gonna have to let Steven do some work here. Pelipper knows Protect and Fly, which we can use to buy some time. Unfortunately, we start the battle off by getting confused, and Steven targets Tabitha's Camerupt. Pelipper proceeds to hit itself in confusion a few times before finally landing a Surf that brings Camerupt down. It also hurts Maxie's Mightyena in the process. We get pretty close to going down as Maxie and Tabitha double into my slot with Wing Attack and Takedown, but Metang does take Mightyena out on this turn. Pelipper hits itself in confusion a 3rd time, but it pops the Citrus Berry I gave it for extra safety in this fight, thank goodness for that. And finally, they start actually attacking Steven. Maxie's Camerupt surprisingly takes a Surf, but Steven's Aggron takes Golbat down as I use Protect to stall a bit. Then, Aggron goes down to an Earthquake, but that's fine because at least it doesn't affect Pelipper. Steven sends in his Skarmory and takes Camerupt down, then our Surf brings down Tabitha's Mightyena. All we have to do now is finish off Maxie's Crobat. And Steven decides to have Skarmory start spamming Protect, which does not mesh well with my own strategy of also spamming Protect. Steven's Skarmory protects 4 times in a row, so I'm gonna have to switch to using Fly. Finally, he goes for Steel Wing, and this does enough damage that Pelipper's Fly brings Crobat down. Maxie begins to reflect on Team Magma's goal, and we notice that Steven's Pokemon do seem to like him a lot. I don't like Steven very much after watching his Skarmory do nothing for that whole battle, but his Pokemon seem to anyway. These are interesting developments. Could it be that Pokemon do truly enjoy being with their trainers? I'm not really sure what to think, but for now, I have to go see what Team Aqua is up to. Under the water, we catch a few Pokemon to help us out, and in we go. Dang it, Archie, you're doing the same thing Maxie did. And don't you know there's already too much water in Hoenn anyway? Lantern confuses Mightyena to start the battle, and then brings it down with a few Surfs, taking no damage in return as Mightyena hurts itself twice in confusion, and also burning Archie's first Super Potion in the process. Then he sends out Crobat, and we spark it for half its health and damage. Archie uses his second Super Potion here, but we land Spark again to negate that, and we paralyze it this time. With Crobat paralyzed, we outspeed it, and land a 3rd Spark to bring it down. Archie's Sharpedo comes in, and I feel like I probably just KO it with 1 Spark, but just to be safe, I paralyze it with Thunder Wave first. If anything goes wrong, at least the rest of my team can outspeed it now. Lantern then immediately lands a critical hit Spark to ensure none of that mattered, and we win the fight. And would you look at that, the blue guy doesn't like the red orb either. Kyogre runs away, and we have a full-blown crisis outside. Steven leads us to Sootopolis City and has us meet Wallace in the Cave of Origin. Wallace is the region's current champion, so he's on our hit list, but he does also seem like a good trainer. We go together to track down Rayquaza and tell him the children are fighting. He calms them down, and we encounter Archie and Maxie doing some serious reflecting on how they almost ruined the world. I have been doing my own reflecting, but I have to stay focused on the mission, and Juan is willing to accept my challenge now. I realize that Lantern probably puts in tons of work in this fight, but Juan leads with a Love Disc, and that has me seeing an opportunity, so instead I lead with Relicanth. I'm gonna fish for the Ancient Power Omni Boost and see how far Relicanth can go. Levdisc confuses us, but Relicanth hits through it both times and brings Levdisc down, although neither hit brought us an Omni Boost. I hit Whiscash with Yawn, and I wait for it to fall asleep so I can use my remaining Ancient Powers. Our efforts finally pay off on the 5th and final use. Our Omni-boosted Relicanth then starts mowing down Juan's Pokemon, KOing Whiscash with a takedown, Celio with a few takedowns. Celio hits us with the Water Pulse a few times to deal damage, but we don't feel it too much. Relicanth's ability prevents all the recoil damage from takedown too.
Is going nuts.
And as Groudon comes in, we even get within a hair of bringing that down before Relicanth finally bites the bullet after taking a pair of Crabhammer hits. Juan still has a Hyper Potion, so he heals Groudon back up to full, but Lantern gets another clutch critical hit spark to take it down. Juan sends in his ace, Kingdra, and it's a double teamer. We break out the classic Parafusion strategy to hopefully shut down the double teams, but it doesn't work. Gets up to +3 evasion and our attacks are not very reliable anymore. Fortunately, the confusion rolls are on our side this time as Kingdra hits itself in confusion 3 times in a row. Over those 3 turns, we are able to land most of our sparks and slowly but surely bring Kingdra down before it gets around to actually attacking us. That's 8 badges down! We say some more goodbyes and we catch a Magikarp and Sharpedo, then make for Victory Road. It's time to piece together the squad for the final leg of our journey. Unfortunately for us, with the later areas of the Hoenn region being very watery, the level of diversity we can come up with for this final team is a little lacking. But we should manage. With a full team intact, I run into Wally, who has managed to put together a pretty good team by now. My Gyarados lead is a mistake, as it looks like somewhere around a 4-hit KO on his Altaria, which starts to set up with Dragon Dance. Gets a couple of hits on us with Aerial Ace while we struggle to retaliate in kind, but then he switches out to Magneton for some reason. I switch in Hariyama and it takes big damage on the switch from a Thunderbolt, then big damage again when Magneton outspeeds us and lands another one, but it does score the KO with Brick Break. Altaria comes back out, so we have to bring Hariyama back to us. We switch in Aggron, and it does big damage with a takedown, but gets paralyzed by Dragon Breath. It's okay though, Aggron finishes off Altaria, then scores a big hit on Roselia with takedown. Roselia finishes Aggron off with Magical Leaf, and we respond by bringing it down with Golbat's Wing Attack. Wally counters with Gardevoir, which goes for Future Sight, but I forgot about Safeguard, and I waste a turn going for Confuse Ray. Safeguard ends the next turn, and we do confuse Gardevoir, but then it hits Golbat with a massive Psychic to take it out. Now we send in Sharpedo, which cleans up Gardevoir with Crunch, continuing a good battle with a lot of back and forth and a lot of revenge kills. All Wally has left now is Delcatty, and we do a ton of damage with Surf. Wally goes for Assist, which is weird considering he has no teammates left. It ends up just calling Supersonic, which misses, and Sharpedo finishes the battle with another Surf. On the bottom floor of Victory Road, we add Whiscash to our team in Exploud's place. We prepare for the Elite Four and get the final team of 6 together. We set our Wailmer free, and he comes back. What's going on here? They keep coming back. And we have a Crobat. A Golbat evolved because he loves us. Another Pokemon that refuses to be let go. These Pokemon are our friends. I know. The mission here is to become the champion, to take control of Hoenn. Have the trainers let their Pokemon go. That's why I'm here. That's why Team Plasma sent me. But Team Aqua and Team Magma were wrong, and they almost realized it too late. Am I wrong too? Man, I don't know. But I have to push on. Let's go fight the Elite Four. We lead with Sharpedo and bring Sydney's Mightyena down on the first turn with a critical hit Surf. He brings out the Grass-type Cacturn, so we switch into Crobat. Single Fly deals with that. He likes to use Double Team with Shiftry, so I don't want to waste turns with Fly. Instead we hit him with Poison Fang, still plenty good enough to 2-hit KO. We switch into Hariyama on his Absol, use Bulk Up once while we eat an Aerial Ace, then Brick Break brings both Absol and Groudon down in a single hit each. Our team, while not very diverse, was built pretty well to handle Sydney, so this fight was easy. With our strongest Pokemon being Sharpedo, the fight against Phoebe doesn't figure to be much more difficult. Crunch takes down her lead Dusclops in one hit, and the Bandit that follows it in one hit also. Sableye provides a little more resistance, but Surf still hits it for close to 90% of its health. BB uses a full restore, but 2 more Surfs bring it down, taking just a little bit of damage from Shadow Ball along the way. Her second Dusclops does survive one crunch, and it hits us with an Earthquake, but a second crunch brings it down, and one final crunch makes short work of her Bannet. Another Elite Four member whose team just really didn't match up well with us at all. I beat Hariyama for the type advantage against Glacia and start the battle with a pair of bulk ups. Unfortunately, we get paralyzed by Celio's Body Slam on the second one, which makes a sweep far less likely. We Brick Break Celio to bring it down, but then we get fully paralyzed 3 turns in a row against Glalie. So Glacia gets screens up and then brings Hariyama to the brink of defeat before we're finally able to be free and land a Brick Break that brings it down. Hariyama falls to a Blizzard, so we send out Gyarados and set up with it instead. We use Dragon Dance once, which lets us take Celio down with 2 Earthquakes. 2 Earthquakes brings Glalie down too as we take a hit from its Ice Beam. When she brings Wall Rain in, I switch to Thunderbolt, hoping to trade a little bit of damage for Paralysis, but we don't get the roll. Crobat comes in and uses Poison Fang, but it gets hit by another Ice Beam. Poison Fang again brings Wall Rain low as Crobat goes down, but now it's comfortably in range for Sharpedo to finish with Slash. At least that's what I thought, but no, Wall Rain is a beefy walrus indeed, and it just barely survives. But it went for Body Slam, and it kills itself on Sharpedo's rough skin, just how we drew it up. The scariest part about Drake is how reliant we have to be on Blizzard to take his Pokemon down. I do have 2 Blizzard users, but it's still only 10 PP total, and it's obviously very inaccurate. Whiscash gets the battle started off right by missing Blizzard. We take an unnecessary hit from Rock Tomb that slows us down and then take some extra damage as a result, but Blizzard knocks out Shelgon, then Altaria right afterwards. I try using Earthquake on Kingdra, which has come in to set up Dragon Dances, and it's absolutely terrifying. Earthquake doesn't even do that much, so I make the read here and switch in Hariyama while Drake gets a bit greedy with Dragon Dance. I send Kingdra back out with Whirlwind to get rid of the stat boosts. Hariyama does a bit of damage to Salamence before going down, and we bring in Sharpedo to take it out with Blizzard, which brings our favorite Pokemon Kingdra back out. In case I didn't dislike it enough already, it hits me with Smokescreen. I just barely miss a kill with Slash, and I know the full restore is coming. I bring Gyarados back in and try a few different moves, Thunderbolt, Earthquake, trying to figure out which does the most damage as he uses another full restore. I've realized Earthquake hits Kingdra pretty hard though, and I spam it a few more times to bring Kingdra down. Then I switch Gyarados out, in case I want to intimidate Flygon later. I switch into Aggron to bait Earthquake, then into Crobat so I don't take damage from the incoming Earthquake. Then I confuse him and try out a few different moves. To be honest, I mostly just wanted to find a way to switch in Sharpedo or Whiscash and use Blizzard without taking hits, but Flygon struggles to do damage to Crobat and hits itself in confusion a few times, and hey, if I don't have to rely on Blizzard, I will gladly take it. Crobat whittles away at Flygon for a few turns, and eventually it's low enough that a final Poison Fang brings it down. And now it's just Wallace left. Listen to how he talks about Pokemon. It wouldn't be fair to say that you alone ended the crisis. You overcame that difficult situation by working as one with your Pokemon. We trainers raise Pokemon, but we ourselves also learn many things from Pokemon. He's right. Is this how he became the champion? He really cares about his Pokemon, and they like him too. Maybe people and Pokemon don't need to be separated. We go with a Sharpedo lead against Wallace and slash right away, but we take huge damage from Double Edge in return. We go for a second slash and get a massive crit to take Wailord out. Sharpedo has no reason to stay in on Ludicolo, so we bring in Crobat to take an obvious Giga Drain. Crobat's Poison Fang isn't quite enough to 2-hit KO, so we go for Fly instead to finish him off, and Wallace brings in Milotic. I confuse it, and it hits itself. I don't think I really need Crobat anymore, so I just decide to leave it in and do as much damage with Fly as possible before it eventually gets to attack us. Crobat goes down to an Ice Beam eventually, and I'm not able to do enough damage to finish Milotic off, unfortunately, so Wallace heals back up to full while taking Whiscash down. Hariyama comes in, and I try to bulk up, which ends up being a terrible idea because Milotic does enough damage to 2-hit KO, and Hariyama goes down before it can even get a hit off. There's not much I can do here. Aggron is just gonna die if he ever gets sent out. So I send in Gyarados and start Dragon Dancing. Thing is, I know I need to get to +4 attack if I'm going to take Milotic down in one hit with Earthquake. It does let me have a free return by going for Recover. It lands some Ice Beams and we get frozen. I don't like where this is going, but then we defrost. It's a miracle. We get the 4th Dragon Dance off, and we take Milotic down with an Earthquake. Things are looking up. A single Earthquake takes down Tentacruel, another Earthquake takes down Whiscash, only Wallace's Gyarados remains. We use Thunderbolt. This one's over. Wait, what? Man, Gyarados' special attack is really bad. Torpedo comes in, and we'll finish it off with Blizzard.
Miss!
Oh no. Well, I guess we've only got Aggron left. Why did I bring Aggron? Aggron was a bad bring. Go on, kill it, Aggron. Oh, that was... Woo. I've done it. I'm the champion of the Hoenn region. But I don't yet know what I'm going to do with all of this power. Maybe I should listen to Steven and Wallace. I think people in Pokemon can be friends. There are bad trainers, sure, but there's a lot of good ones too. Listen to these trainers, and listen to how much their Pokemon like them. I claimed the whole time to just be after what's right for the Pokemon, so how can I say these ones should be separated? This has been an eye-opener. I guess I'll just have to deal with Getsus later.